Hello, students. We are continuing with period 4, Jeffersonian era. Following the failures, the Federalists to procure constituents outside of New England, as well as their mishaps with the Alien and Sedition Act, Thomas Jefferson of the Democratic Republicans won the presidential election in 1800. Jefferson, however, would not seek retribution in undoing or punishing the Federalists. Rather, while he would pursue his ideals, he would maintain that we were all Americans. Jeffersonians held a firm belief in the virtue of self reliance, small scale farmers. To do this, Democratic Republicans would need to expand the territory of the U.S., as patrilineal heritage would soon mean land was divided up too many times. As such, in 1803, Jefferson proceeded with the purchasing of Louisiana Territory from a financially desperate France that was currently engaged in warfare with most of Europe. While the Congress was unsure Jefferson had the power to do so, the real estate deal was so good and so cheap that no constitutional fuss was made over the issue. Expansion. Expansion would not end, however, with the Jeffersonian era, as a precedent for the enthusiastic spread of American territory and ideals would continue into the late 19th century. In 1819, with the Adam-Onis Treaty, United States also procured Spanish Florida. In 1846, the United States negotiated with Great Britain to divide the dispute of the Pacific Coast Territory of Oregon. Lastly, in 1848, the defeat of Mexican forces in the Mexican-American War resulted in a massive territorial acquisition in the American Southwest and Pacific coast. With the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, Mexico ceded the states of California, Nevada, Arizona, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Texas, New Mexico, and other factions. Issues with the Jeffersonian. The Louisiana Purchase and other extensions of the U.S. would be a necessary practice at the agrarian-based Jeffersonian model required land and growth. Jefferson also quickly sought to cut national spending and drastically reduce the size of military and especially the Navy. These measures, however, would soon prove disastrous as the competing states of Britain and France bullied and vied for American support in the conflict versus one another. With America remaining neutral, Britain and France still harassed and impressed American shipping, especially when Britain felt the rule of 1756 had been violated. This issue maintained that any nation who reinstated trade with another during wartime was guilty of helping the other party and therefore was subject to British capture. With no means of protecting American interests, Jefferson attempted to halt trade with Britain and France, issuing the embargo of 1807. The policy, however, was disastrous and more than anything crippled American commerce and industry, even the agricultural industry, due to lack of exports. As such, in 1810s and 20s, there was a rival sectional branch that became known as the National Republican Party. This new National Republican Party prioritized trade, banking, and commerce and strongly supported Alexander Hamilton's National Bank, an institution Jefferson detested. Problems, however, became worse with the disastrous War of 1812, when Anglo American relations hit a low point regarding the impressment of American sailors. War of 1812. While the war itself was relatively short and ended amicably, it was a humbling and embarrassing experience with the Americans. With Jeffersonian cuts that limited the Navy and military, there was little in the way of military vessels or training to combat British troops of the Royal Navy. Additionally, lack of professional soldiers resulted in embarrassing defeat with the attempted invasion of British Canada. While Americans would rally and be victorious under Andrew Jackson in the New South Orleans, the war overall exposed the United States and the Jeffersonian practices for what they were. As such, national Republicans gained momentum. Proponents such as Henry Clay, a proponent of American banking and domestic independence, became increasingly popular. Thank you, students.